Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me for Fierce Faith, Embodied Grace. This is number 8 of our time together. I'm Kate Shipp. I'm a Christ-centered yoga therapist. I work with people in trauma recovery and mental health support. And we're going to have a little talk today about the power of forgiveness. So if you're joining me live here, let me know that you're here. Say hello. Type your name in. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. This can be one that can be absolutely beautiful and life-giving, and for some, it can be a very difficult one to talk about. If you're new to StreamYard, so I'm streaming via StreamYard, you may see a link in this that says to sign up with StreamYard. That means so that I can see your comments. If you're commenting on here. So say hello, let me know you're here. We're gonna get started in just a moment to talk about the power of forgiveness. Hi, Alan, so glad you're here. Good, so you signed up so I can see your name. For those of you that may be new to StreamYard, if you comment and you're not signed up, it's just gonna call you Facebook user in the comment box that I see. So if you don't want to sign up with StreamYard, which I completely understand, just put your name in your comment so I know who it is. That way I can address you by name. So a few little housekeeping things. There's been some more hackers coming in on these different live links via Facebook. So if you see someone that messages you, that comments on your comment, to private message them, to get a reading, for whatever reason, please don't do so. I will try and monitor that to remove them and block them as best as I can. But unfortunately, that's happening more often now. So last time I had someone hack in on here and make some inappropriate comments, so I made sure to remove that as quickly as possible. But that's just the nature of doing live things. People hack in. Happens on Zoom, happens on here, probably happens everywhere. I'm just noticing it more and more. So hi, Hallie. Oh, it's so good to see your name pop up on here. I hope you're well. Hi, Brandy. We are going to get talking about power of forgiveness, right? So super, super powerful week in the world that I live in. So as someone who is Christ-centered, this is Holy Week, and it is the time of celebrating the coming of what is Good Friday on Friday, which represents obviously Jesus being put on the cross. And the relationship that we have with that understanding is that what once was dead dies at the cross, right? These old wounds die on Friday, okay? And this understanding that those that believe, and even if you're not a Christian by, what you would say, but you have this belief that our past needs to die, that what once was dead then is given new life, right? So then we have Sunday, Easter Sunday. It's my favorite day. I love Easter because it is the promise of new life, the promise of rebirth again and again and again. And this has been such a faith walk for me in this understanding of what role forgiveness plays in this. And I'm going to share a couple really powerful stories from my experience around how forgiveness amplified my soul's healing in this recovery journey that I've been on for a very, very, very long time. And I truly believe that it was through forgiveness that it was like an engine starting in my soul to help amplify things down the line. And you'll understand that when I share these stories. But let me say hello. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Carolyn. I am wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here. Yes, forgiveness is so freeing. And I'm going to front load it this way, you guys. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is about your soul healing. And we're going to get into some of this nitty gritty on some people's belief on forgiveness being about the other. And it's not, because God handles that. Right? And we'll talk about that a little bit. The forgiveness is for you so that you can find peace and joy again, so that you're not feeling shackled and shamed than this, prison that we're living in because of the past. So we're going to go into some of this understanding. So let me know that you're here. Say hello. Facebook user with hearts. I'm not sure who you are, but I love that you're here. Thank you for the red hearts. Tish. Hi, Tish. Yes. Forgiveness is for ourselves than the ones we're forgiving. There's a power in forgiveness. And when we feel a lightening in our own hearts, that feeling emanates outward towards others. Amen. Forgiveness usually comes from a change in perception and new understanding. Typically involves compassion and seeing people that hurt others are generally hurting themselves. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful language and sharing around that, Tish. Thank you so much. Hi, Karen. Okay, so I want to start with this piece because I'm going to share it now and I'll share it at the end. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. And because this is such a beautiful week and forgiveness is such a powerful healing tool, on my website under the shop, and I'll put the link in here, okay? I have a Yoga Nidra for forgiveness that I've had on there for probably a couple of years now. I'm offering it free this week for you guys. So on the website, if you go to kateship.com and then you click on the shop tab, you'll see some different offerings. There's a Yoga Nidra for forgiveness offering. If you purchase it and use the code FORGIVE with all capital letters, it will be free, right? So my gift to you this week to start accelerating your own healing through the energy of forgiveness, right? So kateship.com, click on the shop tab. I can't post it here right now because otherwise I'll lose you guys on the screen. I'll have to do it at the end of the live. If someone has it and they can link it through, that would be excellent. And then capital letters FORGIVE so that you can download this Yoga Nidra for free. So my gift to you, I'm so grateful that you guys join me for these every week. And I truly believe in the power of forgiveness to amplify our healing, right? So story time, because I believe we learn through story. I'm going to share a powerful story of this happened in the summer of 2017. You are welcome, Jade. Okay, red hearts was Jade. Beautiful. Thank you, Melissa, so much. Okay, July of 2017, right? I had traveled back to Chicago, which is where I'm from. I grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago. Sometimes you can hear the accent when I say certain words. And I was visiting my family, my husband, my kids, and I. We all went back, and we were in Evanston, and we were at the beach, right? So definitely, if you're ever in Evanston, Illinois, go to the beach. It's beautiful. Lake Michigan is such a sweet place in my heart. And I had told my husband that I needed to go to the cemetery where my grandfather and grandmother were buried because I needed to put some closure to some things. So for those of you that don't know a lot of my story, when I was 35 years old, my body presented a trauma that I had tucked so far away and forgotten about of sexual abuse when I was a little girl from my paternal grandfather. And it erupted like fireworks, all these other traumas that started popping up, okay? And I knew I had already been in trauma therapy. I was going regularly, but I knew I needed to start this piece. And I'd worked with my therapist and I was ready to start opening up the healing into forgiveness. And so when we were on that beach that day, I said to my husband, I need to go across the street. The cemetery that they're buried at was across the street in Evanston from the lake. It's gorgeous. And he's like, are you sure? And I said, yes, I need to do this for me. So I walked the beach for a while and I was praying to God. I said, give me some signs of what I need to leave at their grave as an offering of forgiveness, as an offering for my soul to be free. And so I was walking up and down the beach, and there are certain things in my life that are really special to me. One is blue glass rocks. I call them glass rocks. Some people call them all these different things. But you know, on the shorelines, there's glass that gets tumbled by the water and it comes back on shore and it's super soft. Well, blue ones are very special for me in my life. And so I found a deep, deep, deep royal blue one, a turquoise blue one, a white feather, and then a white glass rock, kind of all within the same little piece on the beach. And so I picked those up. I said, thank you, God. And my husband and I proceeded to walk a short way up the road across the street to the cemetery. Massive, huge cemetery. I had no idea where their graves were. The only time I'd ever been to this cemetery was at their funeral, which was in 1999. And so this was now 2017. So it had been quite a while since I'd been there. And we're walking and we're looking around, and I'm like, I have no idea where their headstones are. And I called my dad and I'm like, hey, can you guide us to where it is? He remembered where they were and he tried directing me. Hung up the phone with him. I'm like, Eric, I don't know. Like, we may just have to leave. I may not get to do this. And then I heard in my soul, like, no, go left. And then go left again. So we're walking on the grass and I'm going left. And then I turn left and I find myself standing over their headstones. And I immediately fell on my knees, like just fell on my knees. I was in a skirt and a tank top over my bathing suit. And I just start crying and I start screaming, right? It was like this primal scream and I'm crying. And internally, all I wanted to do was like claw at their gravestones and like rip up the grass and just be angry. So I let myself have that release. My husband was standing to my right, witnessing this. And he's like, Kate, you don't have to do this. And I looked at him. I said, yes, I do. And I'm going to get teary sharing this because it's so powerful. I said, yes, I do. And I allowed the anger to finish coming up. I'm like, God, please give me the strength to do this. And I placed the darker blue stone and the feather on my grandfather's headstone and the lighter blue stone and the white clear stone on my grandmother's stone. And I just prayed. And this is what I prayed. Right? I said these words: I forgive you so my soul can heal and so your soul can be free. And I repeated that over and over and over again over their graves. I forgive you so my soul can heal and so your soul can be free. Right? And I have chills as I'm saying this to you guys. And it was this powerful moment of like just being filled with spirit, like completely filled with spirit. And the tears that were falling and this awareness of the forgiveness was for me to finally be free from the haunting of the past so that my heart wasn't holding on to these thorns anymore, so that my heart wasn't stagnant in what used to be, so that I could start moving my life forward and enjoy all the beauty that I'd been given in my life, because there was a lot of it. And so it took a while. I continued to cry. I continued to say those words over their grave. And then it was like this calm came over me, this soothing calm. Like the wind stopped. You could hear the waves from the lake because it wasn't that far away. And I just looked at my husband and I said, I can go now. And he was just smiled and was so sweet. And so we walked back out of the cemetery. As we're walking out of the cemetery, on the concrete is a purple heart stained into the concrete. Right? I have pictures of this because I wouldn't have believed it had I not seen it myself. Right? And it was this visual of being free, this violet purple heart stained into the concrete. So amazing. Okay. And we're walking and we're leaving the cemetery and there's this lightness and there's this freedom in my heart, and my soul finally felt like those chains were gone and I could start to move energy forward. And it wasn't about, and yes, these people were no longer in the physical realm, but I still was experiencing a lot of flashbacks because of what had happened. I had not had a flashback since that day of that happening. It's been amazing. Like no nightmares, no flashbacks around that experience. So we're walking back to the beach and we're walking along these rocks and you can feel the wind and the ocean, the lake. And then we go back to where my family's sitting at the beach waiting. My nieces and nephews, my brother, my mom, my kids. And I'm walking on the sand of the beach and there's a paperclip. So those of you who are like, what is the meaning of a paperclip? Some of you know what that means. Some of you are like, I don't understand. So paperclip is one of the messages that God uses to tell me that everything's going to be okay, that he's holding it all together, that I can just relax because everything's working out for my highest good. Right? So it's like a paperclip of faith that says, just have faith. I've already worked it out. I'm holding it all together. On the middle of the sand is a paperclip. My husband laughed because he's like, only you. you know? And I think that that's the joy and wonder of when we live in this fierce faith and we believe that everything is working out for our greatest good, even when we don't understand, even when there's been this horrible experiences, even when a loved one is ill, or we're dealing with a pandemic, or we don't understand why things are occurring the way that they are. When we are able to have this faith that things are working out, we can relax and have peacefulness. And forgiveness gives us that gift so that those that once hurt us no longer have a hold on us, right? We're not held hostage anymore by the past. We can start to move forward. So let me know how that hits you. What's happening for those of you that are with me, that are still with me, that are watching. Thank you guys so much for sharing those links in the comments. I'm so grateful for you for that. If you're just joining in, say hi. I have an offering for you guys to download Yoga Nidra for Forgiveness off my website for free. Between now and Sunday, you would use the code FORGIVE in capital letters. So what happens when you hear these awareness of the potential and power that forgiveness gives us to be free from the pain of our past? To finally kind of take the reins and not allow what happened. For me, it was over 30 years for some of that was still holding me, like haunting me and holding me hostage. And no longer did that occur. And it wasn't a one and done. So forgiveness is a process. It's a practice, right? We have to continually work on this. I think a lot of people think that once we forgive, then we should be completely over it. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a continual unfolding. And when we find ourselves being charged or triggered, if you will, by these things, then there's information of, is it time to forgive? And forgiveness comes when it's time. I don't believe in false forgiveness, meaning if I have a new client that comes to see me and they're talking about their pain that they're living in and their suffering that they're living in, by no means am I going to say you need to forgive. Absolutely not. Because forgiveness is a personal decision that comes at the right time when it's time. If we falsely apply forgiveness when our soul isn't ready, when we haven't worked through the emotions around it, then we're not going to feel free because we still have to deal with the pain. So part of the process of forgiveness is being able to notice and name what you're experiencing emotionally because of what happened. Noticing how it's affected you, how it's affecting your life, present day. Noticing how you want to move forward in it, and then being able to start that forgiveness journey. And what I think of forgiveness, it's like if I have a bottle that, like if I have like a soda can, right? And it's been like shaken up inside, which is what the nervous system tends to feel like sometimes, is we get like shaken up inside over these experiences. And then if we open that soda can, there's this pressure release. Like to me, that's forgiveness. Now there's space. Now what once felt like a pressure cooker inside now is releasing, right? It's like I get a visual of like we have an Instapot, we use it a lot. And when it's cooking, like at one point you have to like release, you have to do like the release valve and it goes shh, and all the pressure, all the steam releases out. I think of forgiveness like that, where we get to release our own inner pressure by saying, I choose to forgive. I'm willing to forgive. The willingness to forgive is so powerful because it then says, I'm no longer going to allow the past to hold me back anymore. I'm not going to allow what once hurt me to haunt me any further. Right? And by the grace of God, God will use what was meant to hurt you to give you purpose and meaning and new life. And that's such a beauty of the promise of the cross, is laying down these hurts, laying down these burdens at the cross and saying, I don't want to hold this anymore. Please let this die. so that I can have new life again. Right? We're so blessed to be able to have that ability to renew and regenerate life within us, right? Through the power of grace. And there's nothing we have to do to earn it. Remember that, right? There's no thing that you have done in your past that excludes you from earning that grace. And that's such a beautiful thing, because a lot of people think, well, who am I? Look at all the bad things I've done in my past. Like, I've made a lot of bad choices in my past, right? I'll probably make some bad choices in my future because I'm human. But we are able to establish that embodiment of grace that says, through this light of Christ, right, I am free. Right? And when we start applying forgiveness to ourselves, right, for the pain that maybe we've caused others, for the pain that we've caused ourselves, now again, this level of freedom starts to shift. This level of freedom starts to move forward, right? So I'm going to take a moment and see if anyone has any comments, any questions, any curiosities. Carolyn put a little paperclip and party sign. Thanks, Carolyn. Tish, you're welcome. I think we learn, I feel, we learn through each other's stories. We learn through helping other people walk their journey with a little bit more grace and ease. And it is my belief that when we've been given freedom from the pain of our past, then I will certainly walk with many someones on their journey to their own freedom, so that they can then live life with so much more joy. But you are welcome. I have one more story to share with you guys today that is so powerful. But I'm going to wait and see if anyone has any comments on anything. So I'm going to check on this other piece really quickly to see if anyone has anything that they're saying on the other Facebook group that this is launching in. But how have you experienced the power of forgiveness in your own life? Right? What is it that has helped you be able to move forward, be able to release what once felt painful into a place of love? All right, trying to close this out, you guys. Okay. And noticing maybe even you guys that follow my page know that I really, really love and appreciate Gabor Mate's work on trauma and on healing. And one of the things that he talks about in his book, When the Body Says No, the Stress Disease Connection, right? Brilliant book on how the diseases that we're carrying in the body are very, very small amount related to genetics. So less than 10% of disease is related to our genetics, and all of it's related in his studies that he's done to emotional pain. And he said that resentment is the worst emotion we can carry in our body, and that it is the emotion that's most directly related to disease. So think about that. Holding resentments because of things that have happened, which means withholding forgiveness. So if we have resent, then we're withholding forgiveness. That resentment that's living in the cellular layers of our body, because our emotions live in our cells, is what he has shown through scientific study to be one of the number one causing emotions of disease. When I speak on these things a lot, I bring in some of the science, because some people are really science junkies and they believe it more when science proves it. So Cancer Treatment Centers of America and Johns Hopkins University posted things within the past couple of years that talks about the link between forgiveness and healing cancer. And that when someone has a cancer diagnosis, if they start doing a forgiveness journey at the same time, and they start repairing within themselves from the pain that was caused from their past, or that was self-caused or other caused, that they actually see the cells of cancer dying faster. And they talk about in there that forgiveness has also been proven through these studies to decrease heart disease risk, to decrease blood pressure, right? To decrease inflammatory response, which is the number one cause of disease. So this forgiveness piece isn't this like religious thing, right? This isn't about religion at all. This is about a relationship with love. This is about giving yourself that grace to say, I don't want to carry this pain anymore. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to ask for the power of forgiveness to activate within me so that I can forgive myself and others so I can be free. So, second story, right? I'm not seeing any more comments coming in. Let me know that you guys are still with me. The last comment I'm seeing is from Tish. So just give me a heart, a smile, a heads up, like something that I know you're still here. I'm going to share another powerful piece. Okay. Hi, Lee. So glad you caught on. Awesome. Thanks for jumping on. So the first part, if you're just joining me, right, I shared a really powerful story on my own forgiveness journey. Hi, Judy. Okay, good. Judy's here too. And I'm going to share another powerful story about this because I want you to understand that forgiveness is continual, right? It continues on and on and on and on. And sometimes we think we have forgiven and then something really kind of like, ooh, it kind of stings. Okay, I'm going to go into a forgiveness practice. Okay, and forgiveness comes through compassion and grace. It comes from seeing the other as human. So that story that I shared about forgiving my grandfather for the sexual abuse that he did to me, what I had to start doing after that story of being at his grave and offering that gift of forgiveness was I had to start asking myself, okay, what in the world would have caused someone to do the things that he did? And I wasn't the only one, okay? And then I started finding the humanity in this, meaning no child is born bad, right? It just isn't a thing, right? We wouldn't look at a nursery of babies and say they're bad and they're bad and they're bad. No, it wouldn't, okay? But as someone grows up and they have these other things, woundings to them, right? Hurt people. And then they don't have the resource or skills or support to get the help they need. And so they repeat the pain. They continue to project their pain onto other people, right? And I knew that story because my pain had hurt some people I really loved. And so I knew that compassion, okay? And I thought to myself, I started seeing my grandfather as a little boy. And I thought of him as like 3 years old. Right? Or maybe 5 years old. Okay. And it was this understanding that I would never look at a 3-year-old little boy and say, like, you deserve to be condemned. You're a bad person. Absolutely not. Okay. So when I was able to look at him from that place that says, something horrible must have happened to you to cause you to do the things that you did to me and others. And I'm so sorry for whatever happened to you because it must have been so horrific that the only way you knew how to deal with it was to go into fear and cause hurt to other people. So I was able to find compassion because I know what it's like to hurt. I unfortunately have hurt people. I know what it's like to not have the support to get through the hurt. And I also know what it's like to have so much anger and rage inside of me that I wanted to hurt people because I was hurting. But thankfully, I had other skill sets developed that knew that wasn't a good choice. Okay. And then there's these unconscious projections of hurt. So through compassion and human understanding, we can then find grace. And we can then say, I will never say what happened was okay because what he did was not okay. But I can also say that I will no longer allow it to cause me pain anymore. Right? There's a Bible verse that says, once the enemy tried to use to hurt you, I will heal you and turn into good. Right? And I love that because it's kind of like when someone does something intentionally to cause harm, and then we get the high road and we say, no, it's not going to have that effect on me. I take my power back from it. And through grace, I am saved from that pain. Right? That pain no longer has power over me. So, second part of the story. So that was summer of 2017. I'm giving you the continuation pieces because there's some people who really don't think forgiveness works. right? Over time, it does. So fast forward January of 2018, I'm seeing that same trauma therapist that I had seen and continued to see. And we were doing EMDR. And she's like, are you ready for this? Because we had been kind of prepping my system for this next phase. And it was another piece of forgiveness. I said, yeah, it's time. I said, I don't know what it's going to look like. I said, I don't know what that's going to be. But normally how our sessions would go, I would walk into her office. I would sit or lay down on her couch. She would give me the little tappers for EMDR. We would start choosing what I was working with that day. We would notice its effect on my body. So if the theme was, I want to work on forgiveness, right? Normally the forgiveness would enter somatically either at my hip where the trauma was held or in my heart where the hurt was held. And in this situation, it was actually at my heart space, but it was on the back of my heart. So I remember laying down on her couch and I have the little buzzies in my hands, and I preferred to close my eyes at that point. And she said, and she kind of prepped me. And so I went on a journey into my body, and I always had Jesus with me and Mother Mary with me and my spiritual team when I'm doing trauma work. Okay. And this goes for my clients and myself. Because our ego that is hurting isn't the part that heals us. We are healed through the light of Christ. We are healed through the grace of God. Our ego can't heal us. It doesn't have that capacity. It doesn't have that consciousness to do it. But our higher love self does. Okay, the way of love does know how to heal us. Right, and we have that within us. Every person has that within them, no matter what you believe. So I'm laying on this couch and I start drifting into this room that I visited many times in my meditations. And I'm sitting at this beautiful round table. And this table is the same table that I saw when I was dead and in between worlds, right? And when I was in this beautiful temple of like sapphires and rubies and emeralds on the walls and gold everywhere. And this table is like this beautiful mahogany table, right, with 12 chairs around it. And I see myself in this room and I'm sitting at the head of the table. And on my right side of the table are all the people that had caused me pain, right, in my life. Okay. And on the left side of the table was the spiritual team, right? So I had the presence of Jesus. I had the presence of Mother Mary there. I had what I called the presence of God. I had some other more spiritual guides that I work with that were there as well. And I'm sitting there and I could see a younger me kind of off to the side and then a teenage me off to the side. And all of this is happening while I'm laying on the couch and I have this thing, these buzzies for EMDR, right? This bilateral stimulation going on, and the intention was forgiveness. So we're sitting there and I have this book, this huge book that's open in front of me. And then in front of the people that had caused me the pain in my life, they had books open in front of them. And what I'll call the presence of God shows up and he says, you have a choice to make. And I said, I know. And he shows me these two stamps, right? And one's red and one's green. And he said, you get to choose. And the green stamp said forgiven. And the red stamp said condemned. And my younger parts kind of came at my side and I was kind of holding their hands. And I told them, like, I got this. You don't have to make this decision. Me and my integrated wholeness is making this decision from the holy part of me, right? The wholeness is holy. That sacred part of me is making this choice. And I looked at these people that were at the table, those that had caused sexual trauma, those that had caused rape, those that had drugged me and left me for dead, right? And I was in this very spiritual transformative moment. And I looked at what I call the presence of God. And then I looked at my book and I looked at their books and I looked at them. And I stood up at the table and I leaned over and I took the green stamp and I stamped very loudly. I remember hearing it, the word forgiven in each of their books. Green letters, huge across their pages that said forgiven, 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 right? And then I sat back down. And then the presence of God took the green stamp and stamped it on my book. And instead of it being green, the colors were bright blue, like this beautiful blue. Hence why my logo of my name is blue, right? For many reasons. And on my book, it said free, right? And I remember this feeling in my body of like complete melting and relaxation. And it was because I chose to forgive that my soul felt free. And it was this repeating pattern of when we choose to forgive, we are freeing ourselves, right? It has nothing to do with them. Sure, they get the energetic benefit of us not holding on to that pain anymore, but it's more about you have your power back now, that you have the power back over your present moment life to be able to make good decisions, to live and create a life that you love moving forward. So the forgiveness frees you from your past. I woke up on that couch, like just smiling and beaming. And my therapist is like, you don't even need me. You do this all yourself. I said, having a sacred witness is necessary for our own healing journey. That oftentimes, even if we can self-facilitate, we need a sacred witness to help us because our ego gets involved, right? So this continual process of forgiveness is an unveiling of truth, right? The truth being that you are love, that you are loved, and that there's nothing you have to do to earn more of it. Meaning there's no act that you can take that's going to earn more love. You can reclaim your freedom. You can reclaim your power. And I truly believe that it is through a practice of forgiveness that we call our soul back, that we wake up inside, okay? And that you understand that you no longer have to be haunted or held hostage by the hurt of your past. That by choosing to start the process of forgiveness, to say, here, I'm going to lay this down. I don't want to hold this anymore. This is too heavy. Like, I'm tired of carrying this weight on my back. It's aching my shoulders and my neck and my low back hurt, right? I don't want to carry that. I'm going to lay it down at the cross. I'm going to lay it down in love. Whatever metaphors you need to use for yourself, knowing that the promise that is made is new life, always, right? And no matter what you believe, the promise is new life, always. And then there comes a point where I didn't have to have reconciliation with these relationships, right? These people were no longer in my life. Forgiveness does not mean that you reconcile the relationship. So please understand that forgiveness does not justify what happened. It does not say it was okay. What it does is it frees you from being hurt continually over and over and over again, moving forward. So this reconciliation piece that comes for forgiveness is saying that you get to decide what level of access that person has in your life moving forward. So if it is someone in your life that you still have interaction with, you get to practice setting boundaries. You get to practice saying no. You get to practice standing up for yourself to say, no, this isn't going to happen anymore. I will no longer let you have power over me. I'm no longer to give you access to my heart. Nope. Right? Some people say, I will love you from afar. I have no ill will towards you anymore. I have forgiven so that I can be free. However, you don't get to be a part of my day-to-day life. That's no longer allowed. Right? Through these years, I've had to do that in other situations over and over again. I can deeply care for someone, but if they cross a boundary too many times, and I'm a very giving person, probably too much so in some ways, right? I get to my point where no, I can forgive you, but you are not allowed in anymore, right? You stand out there. And it's an understanding that just because we have forgiven doesn't mean that people are involved in our life. Okay. Hallie, I will comment on yours to give you the verse because I don't remember the exact scripture verse call number right now to put that on there, but I will get that to you and I'll comment on here so you have it. Lee, you are welcome. I'm happy to share that because I think it helps us all connect through these stories of understanding that when we have this courage to say, I'm ready to forgive, I'm willing to forgive, I want my life back, right? I'm calling my soul back. I'm awakening my soul through this power of love. And that we start to be free, right? We start to move forward in beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ways. So if you weren't on with me earlier, you may not have heard this, but on my website, and the link is in the comments, so you can scroll through and look, kateshit.com. If you click on shop, right, there's an offering for Yoga Nidra for forgiveness. And you can download it for free, which now through Sunday, through Easter Sunday, with the code, all capital letters, forgive. Right? So that is my gift to you this week of Holy Week. If you are feeling called to start the process and practice of forgiveness, Yoga Nidra for forgiveness, that's downloadable on my website. Please gift yourself that. Use it. Start listening to it. Yoga Nidra is a form of guided meditation that actually rewires our cellular layer of our body. Right? It has so many physiological and spiritual benefits. And I chose to write one for forgiveness a long time ago and offer it because I deeply believe that this practice really helps us in reclaiming our power over our life, to live life in a really beautiful, beautiful way. Right? Any questions? Any sharings? You're welcome, Hallie. You are welcome. And I can't reiterate enough, you guys, it's only when it's time to forgive. Please don't force or fake forgiveness because your system won't accept it anyway. Right? I did continual forgiveness work on these situations from my past. I'm grateful that I took the time to do it. A couple of years ago, I led a 40-day forgiveness journey for a bunch of people. There were about 45 people that went through it. It's something that I will probably offer again at some point because I believe so deeply in this. And we need to learn the processes and practices of forgiveness. Right? There's a beautiful book called The Book of Forgiving. By Desmond Tutu. That's one that you can look at as well. It takes you through practices of forgiveness. If you're like, I don't know how to forgive, I don't know how. Okay, that book is wonderful, right? So I also it's just laying on my heart really heavy that when we are able to forgive and walk with each other on a forgiveness journey, it just again, like really raises that vibration, amplifies that power of healing that's allowed within us. But if you're curious of this, do some research on the science behind forgiveness. There's a YouTube video of a man, his first name is Chris, I forget his last name, who talks about forgiveness and cancer and his journey and how using the practices of forgiveness helped him in healing cancer. So this isn't all about faith. Right? This is also about how our cells naturally want to realign with love. And that when we are overcome with resentments and anger and hurt, it is unhealthy in our system and eventually presents as some sort of imbalance. So if we can be preventative and proactive in our healthcare for ourselves by saying one of the best things I can do for my health is practice forgiveness. The later stages of forgiveness, what that turns into, which I'm starting to feel the fruits of all of these efforts, the past 5 years of that journey, we don't get offended as easily. You just don't take things personally anymore. You start noticing that people are operating out of their hurt and their wounding. And it's not that it doesn't hurt the heart when someone offends us, but it's that we don't absorb it in. We don't take it on as a heart pain anymore. It's like, okay, I don't have to hold this. I know how to practice forgiveness with it. I don't have to personalize someone else's pain. And that it comes later in these stages of forgiveness. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful gift to give yourself in this way. Okay, one of the things that I want to offer for you is a lot of times people who watch some of the things that I do and in the communities I have really practice letting go ceremonies and releasing ceremonies, especially with the full moon. If there is 1 week in our year that is primed for letting go, it is this week, right? It is now between Friday, right? And if you can do a ceremony for yourself on Friday of laying it down, leave it at the cross, a list, maybe write a list out of all the resentments you're holding, all the things you know that it would be so healing for you to apply forgiveness to. Write those out. Maybe do some sort of fire ceremony offering to just burn it and lay it down. Maybe if you're a fellow Christ follower, you offer it up in prayer to Jesus as he chose to be on the cross, right? To die for us so that we could live again. And so I look at it as that's why it said what once was dead comes alive, dry bones, disease, right? Death comes alive again through this light of love that lives within each of us. So use the energy of this week, right, to let go of what is causing you pain. Do some sort of special process for yourself. Light a candle, go into meditation, go into prayer, right? You don't have to go to the cemetery where the person's buried. I just happened to be traveling there. I was there. I knew I needed to do it, okay? But give yourself that gift if it's the right time to do that release. And then on Sunday, right, when he rose again, I love one of the things, it's like, spoiler alert, the tomb was empty, right? He rose again, right? There is new life coming. So on Sunday, do some sort of celebration ceremony of new life within you. Honor that spring, right? That's the energy of spring. New life has been birthed from the death of the past, right? That's the fall into winter and then into spring, right? We allow the past to die so we can live again. This is considered the beginning of the new year in a lot of people's lives, right? This week, right? The ending of what was and the rebirth of what will be. So use this time to help yourself if you know you need to forgive, right? And use that download of the Yoga Nidra for forgiveness to help you. You can do it every day. All you have to do is get yourself comfortable to lay down and then just listen. And it's a guided process. So you just have to do your best to stay awake. And if you fall asleep, that's okay too. Your cells are still receiving the practice and energy of it. And slowly over time, you'll start noticing that you have less resentment, less angst, less pain from what happened before. Okay. So thanks you guys so much for being with me here today. I appreciate you all. Allie, you're welcome. I'm glad there was some connection there. Hallie, yes, you were able to share this. You can view it back on my Facebook page, on the Spirit, Psyche, Soma Science, Soul group page that I run. It's also viewable on YouTube, on Kate Shipp, Hope for Healing page on the YouTube channel. This is streaming live on there also. You may not have even realized that was available. That is available too. All of these are accessible on that YouTube page. All right. I'm wishing you all a very, very, very blessed week. Take good care of yourselves and let me know if you watch this on replay so that you can receive that Yoga Nidra for forgiveness as a gift. If you aren't already on my newsletter, when you go to my website, you'll see a slide out that asks for you to subscribe to my newsletter. For those that aren't on there yet, part of subscribing to my newsletter is you do get a complimentary Yoga Nidra. So part of the subscription to my newsletter is a Yoga Nidra for strength and confidence. So if you know you need some inner strength and confidence, sign up for my newsletter, and then you'll be able to download that one as well. So you have opportunity for 2 free Yoga Nidras from my website as well. All right, thanks, my friends. Wishing you all a beautiful, beautiful week and happy Easter. I will see you guys next week. Take care.